Our population is increasing by 2.5 individuals every second, which means in the 15 minutes that I'm going to be talking to all of you, we're going to be welcoming around 2,250 new mouths to our country and our world. By 2050, our population is going to reach 9.2 billion, and we're going to double the amount of necessary food that's needed. This big problem needs to be solved. And for some time, we've been attempting to solve that through mass production at a monumental scale. Conventional farming, or industrial farming as we know it today, was a product of the Second World War. The discovery that nerve gas could simultaneously kill a human being and also remove pests was a breakthrough. All of a sudden, an industry was born, industrial agriculture. We could grow with predictive yields. We could say that suddenly we knew exactly what was going to be picked in that field. The pests were no longer a pest. But it also gave birth to an industry without any regard for the environment. An industry that had no idea the exact price it was causing. We are now faced with an even more daunting task. How do we continue to grow these high yields of food in a way that preserves and supports our changing environment? As most of you know, in California alone, we are facing a massive drought. This threatens the breadbasket of the world. In California, we produce 99% of walnuts, 97% of kiwis, 97% of plums, 95% of celery, 95% of garlic, and well, the list goes on. There is no other state or combination of states that comes close to matching what we're able to grow on our land. Yet, large ag, which promised to feed us in the past, uses high water amounts and offers no sustainable solution. It's a short-term feeding solution that comes at an incredibly hefty cost. Despite this large price tag, ag continues to grow in this way. Small farmers who are working to produce sustainably and be able to support networks and communities are struggling to compete in terms of pricing and output. Right now, this current conversation that is going on is being dominated by black and white. It's dominated by terms such as GMO, non-GMO, organic, non-organic. And you know what's the craziest, and probably my favorite, is also the term of, is my salmon wild or farmed? The conversation, while a positive one, needs to go beyond that. We need to not only discuss how we're growing, but where and by whom. We need to understand that if we're going to feed this growing population, we need to not only innovate within the farming space, but innovate in a way that embraces and increases access to our existing farmers who are growing crops. So this problem is a pretty personal problem for me. As I mentioned before, I spent half my life on an organic ranch in Montana. It gave me a very, very unique viewpoint into the world of food. I watched friends lose their land due to bad crops and have to move away. I saw cows slaughtered firsthand and shed tears for the first time, but connected the dots as to the meat on my plate and where it was coming from. I was able to go out and hold eggs, warm eggs, in the palm of my hand. The daughter of 2 doctors, I was very lucky to be exposed to this world and to be exposed to the role that natural food plays in our lives. Yet, it wasn't until I left for college that I was truly faced with this reality. My junior year at Brown University, I became very ill. I traveled around the country from specialist to specialist, trying to understand what was going on. When no one could figure out what the problem was, I took my health into my own hands. I began to look at exactly what I was putting in my body and where it was coming from. And in that process, my eyes were opened. I realized that something had to be done because no one was aware of where their food was actually coming from. We were aware that shopping at farmers markets was great. We knew that local was a word that we liked to use. But beyond that, we didn't really understand exactly who those faces were. This term farmer was just kind of there in our vocabulary. It was kind of a nondescript individual, probably in a plaid shirt and boots, who would wake up with the sunrise every morning and go out to the field. We weren't doing anything to talk about it in the same way. So I graduated from Brown, I moved to New York City, and plunged myself into this world of food. And I began to realize that these farmers, there was no problem in the way that they were growing. It was in the way that we were moving that food and purchasing that food. So with an expert on British organic food branding and an amazing chef, I started a company. And we bought extra produce from these small farmers when they couldn't sell it. We went to scale. It was going quite well. Busy New Yorkers love healthy food. And we went to scale, and I wanted to do it in an ethical way and realized very soon that that wasn't possible. It wasn't possible to reach out and ethically work with these farms because they were so disjointed. And suddenly it clicked. Suddenly, that communication piece of it, the fact that they were so spread out and no one had brought them together, that was the problem. At the same time I had this realization, I serendipitously met my now co-founder, who had been asking the same questions on the West Coast. I stepped away from my previous company and I threw myself into solving this problem. At first, the task seemed really daunting. How are we, two relatively young women, going to take on this giant challenge of increasing access to the right kind of food? But this is where we found the solution. We found the solution in these incredible people that we were able to work with. These farmers are working day and night to feed us in a sustainable way. We've spent hours working closely with them, listening and understanding, hours realizing that this question needs to not only be how can we increase access to these farms, but how can we support them and help them to grow. At LocalHero, I'm lucky enough to be part of an incredibly talented team who listens deeply and allows the learnings in front of them to inform their decisions. In this behind me, you see one of our farmers from the Coachella Valley. Now this farmer, she's really wonderful. She started up in Petaluma with a farm and then realized that for expansion, she moved down to Coachella Valley and now operates 2 properties. It's this photo that was a huge breakthrough for us. Everyone will tell you that farmers are tech adverse. They'll say to you, they're kind of old-fashioned, they're not going to use that. But the truth is they're not. We would go to these farms and we'd see just this. We'd see them on smartphones and tablets and texting. They just didn't have the right software or the tools to take advantage of those hardware components. We've been able to, after months of research, develop a system that easily operates as an inventory management solution for these farmers. We give them direct access to their financial growth, help them see exactly what's going on, and give them the tools that they need to expand their operations. I'm incredibly proud to say that our platform just simply empowers those farmers to take back control of the supply chain that they've lost. We can help more revenue stay in the pockets of these farmers, and we offer lower prices for buyers as well. LocalHero provides direct interaction and allows both parties to enter in supportive contracts. This is Evan Wigg. Evan runs an incredible group of farmers called the Farmers Guild that are located all over California. He's been able to bring together farmers in a community setting to talk about these issues that they're facing. It's individuals like this that we are so proud to work with because we're able to look at this giant problem and see how they have taken small steps towards solving it on their own. It's these farmers that give me hope. It's these farmers that I wake up for every single morning. These faces whose stories deserve to be told and deserve to be championed. There is no doubt in my mind that a solution to our food system already exists. By thinking big and looking at these incredible small farmers, we can rebuild a food system that is both supportive and transparent. One where local food networks support the growing population and vice versa. Imagine a world where farmers and buyers work together and where they're honest and transparent with one another and work to increase the food percentage that's on our plates. It's up to us as consumers to listen, to bring together our 7.2 billion voices to push forward this social change. Buy local, demand organic, and be the annoying consumer who interrogates their server about where the food comes from. And let's not stop until we find a solution to this problem. So keep thinking big, but looking small to find a way to a better food system. Thank you.